Trey Jones bring to a team that's already loaded with talent?
Well, I mean, look, they've got multiple first-round draft picks and high first-round draft picks, and Trey's one of them. So, Trey's obviously one of the best guards in the country, and he was going to come back at some point. So, either way, we'll have to be ready to play. I mean, whether he was there or not there, they're still very, very good, and we'll have to just continue to, we've got to have great practices. We had a good practice yesterday. We've got to try to have a good one today, and be ready to go tomorrow.
Does somebody like that's as physical as Zion does that maybe lead you to worry a little bit about getting into foul trouble with the physical game he plays?
No, Zion is. Zion's probably going to be the number one draft pick in the country, or the number one draft pick next year in the 19 draft, or top three, should I say at least. But they got, he's really good. There's no question he's really good. And I mean, when I first got the job here, it was interesting. The first recruit that I called and offered was him. He wasn't as highly on the scene yet. And I remember watching him when I was in Dallas, and when I was watching him in the warm-ups, I was like, it was my first time I seen him play, and I was like, I'm not sure this guy, because he didn't look the part, And then all of a sudden when the game got, he was like started going, he was really good. So, he's a. They're excellent in transition offense. I mean, they're as good as any team in the country. I think they're one of the best, if not the best, in offensive rebounding, one of the very best in shot blocking. They are a high-level, basketball team with a realistic chance of winning the national championship and possibly having, 3 or 4 guys in the top 10 draft picks in next year's draft, which is maybe the first time ever. So, great challenge, great opportunity for us, but that's part of being in the ACC. I mean, that's what this league is about. You're playing the very, very best. That's why you come to the ACC, is to have an opportunity not only to coach against the best, but as a player to play against the very best out there.
Regarding Zion, what sticks out to you the most about it?
Well, Ken, Zion is, obviously a lot of the hype is about his dunks and athleticism, but he's a really good basketball player. So I think he's a better basketball player than people, than maybe just the naked eye sees, because, he's obviously, the attention he gets is via the dunking and athleticism. So, so I just think he's a really good basketball player. And he's Zion's, I would assume, going to be the number 1 draft pick, or if not, the number 2 draft pick. So, but he's very graceful on his feet. He knows how to play. He's not just an athlete. Zion is a basketball player. And even when I was watching him in summer basketball and grassroots basketball, and of course people were fascinated on his dunks just by his following, but if you watched him, you could recognize he's a really good basketball player too. I mean, he's graceful the way he plays. He's light on his feet, and he's got good hands, and I mean, he's putting up the number. You don't put up those numbers unless you're really, really good. What's the numbers he's putting up?
So he was going to be a junior, I guess? Yeah.
He was let's see, when I got it was the spring of his sophomore year. It was the spring of his sophomore year. No, spring of his junior year. Spring of his junior year. Yeah, going into his senior year. So
how was he on that, as far as recruiting?
He wasn't highly recruited. His what happened was a local coach here told me, you need to get on this guy, and his dad's a coach, which he had coached his team, his stepdad, and And I can't remember all the exact time, because so much happened since then, but I do remember that I was going into Romello White's home to meet with Romello and his mother, and I remember his Zion's stepdad had called me to talk because Zion's stepdad had called me because the coach had let him know that I just got the job, what about Georgia Tech, just to get on him early, and I can't remember the time, if I told the coach, I'm not allowed to call, I don't know how all this stuff worked, but I just remember I was sitting in the parking lot, getting headed into Romello White's home, and Zion's stepdad had called me, and we talked about Zion, but that was about it. There's no huge story or anything about that.
He's literally your first offer?
He was literally my first offer, and I didn't see him. So when his dad called me, because the coach had told me, the AAU coach, this kid's going to be really, really good coach.
Okay.
He had told me, so I'm just telling you, this kid, he had played with a local Atlanta team here in Dallas in the spring when I got the job, and that's what the coach told me. And then, if I can't remember, I think he was going into his junior year.
Yeah.
So that's why the dad called me, because I had told the coach I couldn't call the kid until the 15th of June. So, but the dad could call me, and I remember him calling me and just telling, hey, we want Zion. Offers on the table outside unseen, because the coach just said this kid's going to be really, really good. He's he ended up playing with the Atlanta team in Dallas in the spring, and like I said, you could tell right then how good he's going to be.
So you saw him after you'd offered him, you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
My head was spinning. I mean, I didn't. I mean, at the time I had not heard of Zion Williamson. I was there were so many things going on. I just remember the local AAU grassroots coach told me, he said, this kid's going to play for me. He's tremendous. Jump on him early. And I remember he told the dad to give me a call, and the dad called me, and stepdad, and that was it. But nothing more than that.
Josh, you, against Notre Dame, your
That doesn't help us win or lose a game on Saturday.
Against Notre Dame, your starters played 30-plus minutes. Will someone like Brandon Austin be available to take some of those minutes away next game?
Everyone's going to be available. I mean, as far as I know to this point, I mean, obviously going into the Clemson game, I thought the same thing, and things kind of did not work itself out on that. But going into this game, I'm assuming everyone's ready to go and be available. We'll just take it possession by possession.
As a team and as a unit, how does this Duke team
No, Duke's really, really
challenge?
good. Duke's they're an elite level team, and like I said, they got a chance to win the national championship. They're still young though. They are young, but they're good, and they got good players, and obviously, and they're obviously coached by one of the greatest to ever coach of any sport. So, we'll have to play really well and at a high level. But hey, look, they put their shorts on the same way as we do. They're not the San Antonio Spurs or the Golden State Warriors. They're still 18 to 22-year-old college guys, and as are we. So, that's why you play the game and compete. We'll be ready to go. We're gonna had a good practice yesterday. We'll have another one today, and be ready to compete tomorrow noon.
Is that your message to the guys in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, my message is you come to the ACC to play against the best. Everyone in this league is really, really good. Anyone can beat anyone at any point. Everyone's well coached in this league. Everyone's got good players. It's just going to be this league is incredible from top to bottom, and you're going to have to play really well every time you step on the floor if you want an opportunity to win, no matter who you're playing.
Josh, you've said repeatedly that Georgia Tech's identity needs to be rooted in defense. Is that because you say so, or does your personnel dictate that you have to be a defensive bedrock team?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little both. I say it because I believe it, and I've been defensive oriented even my time as a head coach. I mean, even if you look back at my numbers as a head coach at Memphis, if you look at our numbers defensively, we were always, high up there in the country. I mean, a couple of years we were top, 15 in the country in defensive efficiency. So we've always guarded. I've prided myself on that because that's kind of an effort motor, 50-50 ball type of deal. And I've also prided ourselves on assist on made field goals. Those are two things I've spent a lot of time as a head coach that's been important to me. But I also think for us to have success in this league, we have to be really good defensively, because right now we're not getting some of the individual talent. We're not getting some of the individual talent that where you can just come in and just be an instant offensive, where they can just go get your 40 points a night.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Okogie was scoring 20 a game for us, and basically in the ACC last year. And if you had him back, that's a different deal. You could maybe do a little more things offensively with him, because he might have upped his average to 25. But I just felt with our personnel, our only chance of survivability and success has to be through defense. And guys have bought into that, and the numbers speak for itself. And if you look at our time here, going in 2.5 years, there's been some highs and some lows, but for the most part, we've been pretty good defensively, and it's helped us win a lot of games through that time.
Is it reasonable to say that Georgia Tech and the character of this institution fits the defensive mindset, in that you got to be of high character and discipline to survive academically at this school?
Yeah.
And to be a really good defensive player within a team concept, you've got to be high character and high discipline.
Yeah, I would say that our young men here have been all high character guys, and you have to be disciplined, because you got to have a motor, and our defense. Some of our defensive schemes can be a little bit complex at times, so you got to have an understanding of that. But I look at Georgia Tech as very blue collar. Putting the hard hat on, the working boots on, rolling the sleeves up, and just a blue collar mentality. I think that's Georgia Tech, and that's what defense is.
Is recruiting that, scouting it more difficult than?
Yeah, I mean, look,
I can go scout. Ken can go scout and see kids that can score the test.
Yeah. Here's what I think. I think, and I don't. Well, Ken was with me in Vegas. I'm not so sure if Ken, because so.
I pointed out Zion Williamson.
Yeah. So that was an easy one. But anyway.
I mean, a lot of kids don't have to play much defense in high
but
school.
here's what I think. I think for us, here's what I've learned in my 2.5 years here. It's if you've got to find a good enough player that's good enough in the ACC to help you move the needle, but on the same hand, they have to be able to handle the academics. And what I've learned, if they are fighting uphill academic, they're not going to be really good on the court, because they are so stressed and just exhausted mentally from and there's nothing wrong with that, or the hardness or the toughness you have to go through at Georgia Tech academically. It's good for you, but you're also asking them to compete at a high level athletically, so there has to be a balance where we've got to make sure we get the guy who can handle it academically, but is good enough athletically. And part of that is you might have to, not everyone that fits those bills is going to be an elite offensive player. Usually guys like that, the whole world's recruiting them. So sometimes you've got to get a guy that you've got to do a great job evaluating, and maybe the thing that they're really good at is defensively, and then we've got to develop their skill set offensively. And that's part of what we have to look at. And and so there's no excuse with it. Like I tell our staff, I don't want everyone to ever tell me that, it's hard to recruit here because of the well, then don't work at Georgia Tech. That's the way I look at it. You have to embrace it, accept it, and know that's the deal. And there's a lot of positives towards that too. It's just, that's what's great about the school, and there's many, there's many things to it, but it's also, and it's also the discipline of not just taking guys just to take guys, and that's important too, and making sure that you try to get the right fit and go from there. And that's and I will not veer from this. That's why I believe you've got to get old and stay old. You have to get old and stay old. It's the best way of chance of success here at Georgia Tech, of being able to sustain it. Not just 1 year here and there, just of being able to sustain it. You've got to be old.
Is Khalid Moore one, or can he be one of those guys?
Oh, Khalid's a good player. Yeah, he's gotten better. I mean, look, Khalid, that's a great example. We took Khalid based on defense. Khalid Moore was strictly, he wasn't an offensive juggernaut when we signed him, and we evaluated based on his athleticism, played hard, great student, good motor. We were going to have to develop his skills, very coachable, high character, so we felt in time through he was going to fit our culture, and he will get better, which he has gotten better in a short amount of time. But yes, that's a great example of a you know, of a Khalid Moore is Jose Alvarado. When we signed Jose, well, what do we say? We've got to get some of that toughness, you know, and Jose's tough. So those things are important, and you know, that's what we're looking for.
Curious, particularly given the way you didn't start well with Clemson and Louisville, and also just, you know, being at Duke and such a talented, is that like the concern about let's get off to a good start, even more heightened?
Well, yeah, and I, you know, the Louisville game was, you know, we didn't have our group, and I'm not making any excuse at all for Clemson or Louisville. I mean, you know, I thought we were really turning the corner. We had, you know, Virginia, you know, and then we got that was a bad week for us with injuries, and just I didn't know who was starting, what was going on, and our game plans had to change, and so again, we have to figure that out. But it was very similar to like last year, as I mentioned, those two games when we lost Jose. We were just out of it for a little bit there, and so. But Ken, you are right. You have to get to a good start, and we got to a good start versus Notre Dame. We got to a good start versus Syracuse. You know, part of the thing with like Louisville or Clemson, we couldn't score. We just could not score, and that was the thing. But versus Duke, we're going to have to guard them. But if you can't score, you're not going to win the game.
Right.
You know, you're going to have to score. I mean, even Virginia, who obviously could be the best defensive team in the country, I mean, they still scored 72 against us. So you're going to have to, you know. You're not going to hold them score. You're going to have to score. As in terms of us, we're going to have to score, and that's what we're going to have to do. And getting to a good start's important, just because of you know, just the confidence factor in that.
What would you give to be like 8-8 at the end of 16 timeout?
Say it again.
What would you give to be 8-8 at the end of 16 timeout, just to be
But I would be, if we were playing the Spurs, I would say that would be an incredible deal, you know. But we're playing Duke, and Duke is a member of the ACC, and they're 18 to 22-year-olds who put their shorts on the same way our guys do. The biggest difference. I mean, I know they got multiple first rounds. Coach K is, you know, I'm a Division I head college basketball coach at Georgia Tech and trying to survive. You know, Coach K's maybe the greatest coach or top 3 of the history of coaches of any sport. I think that's the biggest difference. And so our guys are going to compete, and we're out there to play as hard as we can. And we're playing to win the game, and you know, that's why we're here in the ACC, and we have that mentality regardless of who we play.
Were you happy with what you saw from the combo of AD and James last week?
Yeah, those guys did a nice job on Tuesday, and they're going to play well Saturday.
What's AD, early in the year he was kind of losing minutes, and now he's, before the injury and then again on Tuesday, looked really good. So what's he kind of done to kind of earn that time and really?
Yeah, he's just gotten better. He stayed the course. He's been steady. You know, he's just continued to get better, one of those things. So, and he's a big integral part of what we want to do. You know, and the other thing, Ken, you know, everyone's talking about, but I would say, you got Duke on tomorrow, you got North Carolina on Tuesday, and then at Florida State Saturday. So, you know, I mean, you got a heck of a week coming up. So, and all 3 teams are similar in the sense of high octane athletically, you know, offensively, you can get up and down the floor, and offensive rebounders, and they're going to play fast. And so our defense will really be challenged. So it's not just a Duke game. I think this whole week will give us a real good indicator, because we have 3 games against 3 top, even though Florida State's not that right now, but really 3 preseason, they're top 15 teams in the country. Where anyone said any of those 3 teams could be in the Final Four, no one would have been surprised.
Is that a fun opportunity for these guys too? I mean, to
Yeah, and it's a heck of a stretch of basketball, you know. But I think that's just the ACC. It's just one heck of a league. It's an incredible league. It's an incredible league, and you got to be really good every night, otherwise you're going to get beat. I mean, look, I think Pittsburgh's really good. You know, I watched obviously the game film of Pittsburgh versus Duke, but they're good, and they were picked last. I mean, they're really good. They got good players, and Coach Cable's done a great job. I just think the league is really, really good.
Do you ever look at the win probability in Ken Palm?
I do not. I do not. No, I do not. But what do they have? 0%?
Right, close.
It's darn close. That's okay. That's good. I mean, I do remember when we played North Carolina, our first year here, at the time, I remember Dave Odom said it was the greatest upset in the history of the ACC. Now as the league went on a little bit, we won some more, but at the time he said it was the greatest upset in the history of regular season ACC basketball, in the history of the ACC at that time. That was one of the things that was going around on Twitter and everything else. But so hey, that's why you play the game. You put the shorts on, and we're going in there to win the game, nothing else.
How do you keep the outside distractions out next week with North Carolina and Florida State with everything that's going to be going on in the city?
You know what's interesting? I've gotten a lot of ticket requests for the North Carolina game.
Yeah.
Of people coming in like, I guess so-called celebrities in the sports world. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
people could probably not want to come see, they want to see North Carolina, obviously. So which is fine, no problem. I get it, and nothing to. And so, but hey, it's great, and there's a lot of people coming in the city, and we've gotten a lot of requests, and the game's a sellout. We've held a few tickets on the side because we knew the request of people that were going to come in, and we've had some of those requests, and just for those so-called celebrity people who want to come to the game. They probably want to come to see North Carolina, but it is what it is. They're in our building.